so just.
Good evening. I'll now call to order the August 11th, 2025 meeting, East Bend School District Board of School Directors. One note, Mr. Smith is joining us remotely from Canada, so in order for him to speak, he has to end every sentence with a. Anyway, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
One nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda are our requests to comment. We have two this evening. Before I announce each individual, I want a public statement. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with public comment, speakers should feel free to express their opinion, comment, or question, and understand that this is not an interactive engagement with the board or the administration. Please direct your correspondence to the chair, be respectful, not engage in profane rhetoric, not disclose confidential personal information regarding staff or students, or comment on matters in violation of the law or board policy, and be mindful that others, including students, may be listening. I would request that you consider that protocol when making your comments. For the members of the audience, please also be respectful and refrain from speaking during the public comment period. With that, I will now announce each speaker on their topic. When you step up to the podium, again, state your name, and you will have 3 minutes within which to speak. I will provide a 30-second warning for when your time is up. Okay, our first speaker this evening is Matthew Mull to talk about realignment.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the time. I'll be brief. Obviously, I want to talk about the realignment. This has obviously been a huge issue. I've heard it discussed a lot. There still seems to be a lot of questions. I do see that there's a motion to push back that move tonight, and I would highly encourage you guys to do it. I would say one thing that I've heard, and it's just like more of a suggestion for the board and everyone here, is there really just seems to be in this hyper-partisan atmosphere we live in a lot of distrust. The more transparent you guys can be, one of the questions I've been asked, because I'm involved with a number of organizations in the community, is why don't the school board have a more like an open forum discussion? One example was Willow Lane many years ago when they were going to put in the traffic lights and eliminate busing. There was a special school board session for that. I know during COVID, there was one held in the auditorium as well, because I think there's a lot of good reasons for both sides to do it. But I just kind of want to share to you, there's definitely an undertone that there's a fear that this is something that's being pushed through, or that this vote tonight is more to basically kick it out past the election and then try to get something during an off-year election. I hope that's not true. I don't think it's true, but I just wanted to communicate to the board that there does seem to be a large amount of distrust. This isn't directed at any one person or anything, but I just think it would help in the long run because of the financial impacts it will have on our community, that extra step be taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mull. Our second and final request to comment this evening is from Ted Dobracki on the alignment.
Good evening. I'm actually here to speak on the same topic, but a little humor or actually good news at the beginning. I actually have spoken about Mr. Saul's fantastic spreadsheet. After hearing some discussions at another school board that I also attended in another state, I sent it to them because one of the school board members constantly complained about they were budgeting things, putting things in, and then the next year they couldn't afford it anymore. So I think, with a 5-year fiscal plan, that would be a big help for them to do some kind of model similar to that. Now, on the realignment, I have been following that for ever since it started, which is 2 or 3 years ago. And in October of 23, just before the current plan was voted on, there was a huge presentation that took like 4 hours or so. And it was pretty clear at that time to me that 2 mills additional spending for a middle school was pretty high. And 5 mills for the entire plan of doing both the middle school and high school would be pretty high. That, I mean, I don't know how that would have even fit into the spreadsheet. Another thing is back in during the budget planning for 2024, about a year and a half ago, you were considering a 6% Act 1 increase and cut it down to I think it was 3 or 4% eventually. And at that time, I mentioned the Upper Merion School District near King of Prussia. They built a new high school, but they took 8 years of tax increases before they even started building or constructing the project. So that's something to consider here too. Finally, back in 2002, East Penn consumed 16% of its revenue for debt payments. Right now, it's only 4%. Somehow that's deteriorated or gone down as the bonds were paid off. But perhaps some of that millage should have been kept in place to do what you're hoping to do now. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Scratch. Okay, that concludes our request to comment. Moving on to next time on the agenda is the approval of minutes for the July 14th meeting. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, Ms. Allen, please call the roll.
Ms. Bowman,
Aye.
Mr. Pelleggi,
Aye.
Ms. Ford,
Aye.
Mr. Jankowski,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Ms. Klotz.
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Dr. Whitney,
Aye.
Dr. Levinson.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Our next item is the district update. Dr. Campbell.
It's our favorite time of year. We're putting the finishing touches on our classrooms in preparation for the first day of school. I hope our students and parents and community are listening. The first day of school is scheduled for Monday, August 25th. We really do ask our families to carefully check school websites for details. We have new student orientations that are actually planned starting this week. We have Meet the Teacher, open house events, and many other opportunities for parents and students and guardians to be involved in our school community. Our elementary teacher assignment letters were mailed home the week of August 4th. So certainly those should have arrived or will be arriving very shortly. The excitement as elementary students open those letters and see who their homeroom teacher will be. And secondary course schedules will be available in Power School beginning on August 18th. And finally, our bus assignment letters were mailed home. They're actually mailed out this week. Today, they went out by today, August 11th. And so families should receive those by the end of the week. So again, please really start to pay attention to not only information that's being sent out from your school, but information that's on our website, as well as that print communication that's coming home so that you can be sure that if you have any concerns that you have ample time to reach out to either STA, our bus service, or your child's home building so that we can resolve any concerns. Another important piece of information that we ask that families complete is our 25-26 school year online returning student form. So this form must be completed for each student in the district, and it's the way in which parents and guardians update critical contact information for each student who's here in our school system. So we ask that families please complete that unique form as soon as possible, definitely before the start of the school year. And again, if you have any concern with accessing the form or completing that form, you can simply reach out to your student's home building. We want to let our community know that we do still have some vacancies for positions here in the East Penn School District. Most of these are part-time positions in our support staff, crossing guards, and food service. And I will also remind the community that we are always looking for substitute teachers as well. So if there's anyone who's interested in joining the East Penn team, we encourage you to check out our district website where there's the specific positions are listed as well as the application process. And finally, I have two staff members who I'd like to recognize and congratulate for their recent accomplishments. First, Officer Craig Blos, who's our school resource officer, our SRO at Emmaus High School. He recently completed an advanced school resource officers course and certification through the National Association of School Resource Officers. So we certainly appreciate Officer Blos and the great work that he does for the students at Emmaus High School, and really just taking the initiative to expand his own knowledge and expertise in the area of being an officer in a school building. And finally, and I'm really glad as well that Mr. Dabracki is in the audience, because he is someone who has in the past complimented Mr. Saul's work. And so it's only fitting that Mr. Dabracki can be here when we announce to our community that we are incredibly proud of Bob Saul, our business administrator. He was recently recognized as the recipient of the 2025 Eagle Award through the Association of School Business Officials International. So this is the international organization of school business officials. The Eagle Award is the highest distinction that is awarded through this international organization, and it recognizes school business professionals functioning in a K-12 system, not only for their exemplary leadership, but service to their districts and overall service and leadership to the profession as well. So congratulations to Mr. Saul. Thank you. That concludes my report for tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. Any comments or questions from the board? Ms. Klotz?
Mr. Saul, thank you for making accounting and making it fun, I guess. I don't know if fun is quite the word, but you actually make it very understandable, so it's appreciated. And congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Klotz. Other comments, Ms. Ford?
Also, congratulations, extended. I'm glad that they're recognizing what we already know, that you are fantastic at what you do. We so appreciate the work. And Dr. Campbell, if you could extend my congratulations to Mr. Blos as well. Thank you.
More comment? Okay, I'll echo that. Again, congratulations, Mr. Saul. Really value you as our business manager, and you're never gonna leave. Also, it's really exciting that we're on the precipice of school starting shortly, and I appreciate Dr. Campbell's enthusiastic report on getting ready for that day. Okay. Next item on the agenda is an informational update on community and schools. Campbell, would you like to introduce?
I would, thank you. The next item, you're right, for the board and the community is informational. We have representatives from communities and schools who are here to share with us an overview of the success of the program for the past year. So I want to first start off by saying that for the past 8 years, East Penn has valued its partnership with communities and schools, CIS, as it's referred to provide supports to our students and our families, specifically at the secondary level. Since the 2017-2018 school year, East Penn has partnered with CIS to provide a site coordinator at Emmaus High School. We're fortunate to have Mrs. Williams joining us in the audience tonight. She's been at Emmaus High School for many years. And then in 2019, we added a second site coordinator at Ayer, and Mrs. Hackman is also out in the audience this evening. I will also share that the district, we have a district employee who provides similar or comparable services at Lower Macungie Middle School. So this evening, Mr. Phil Parise, who is the Regional Director of Operations from Communities and Schools, is here to provide the board and the public with an annual update on the success of the program that's being implemented at both Emmaus High School and Iyer Middle School. Tonight's presentation is informational only, an opportunity to see the data, the results, the impact that the program is having. And our plan is that the board will take action at a future meeting, very likely the next meeting in August, on the 25-26 agreement with communities and schools. We very much value and would like to continue and extend that partnership. So at this point, I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Parise.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Campbell. And I just want to say, as a proud graduate of the East Penn School District and a current parent of the East Penn School District, I'm especially proud to be here tonight speaking to you. So I did want to give you an overview of our work at communities and schools, as Dr. Campbell said, particularly at Emmaus High School and Iyer Middle School, and just speak a little bit about the work that we've done and looking ahead to the future. Just to go over once here at the beginning, just as a reminder, so we are Communities and Schools of Eastern Pennsylvania. We are a local affiliate of a national nonprofit. We've been positioned here in Eastern Pennsylvania for over 40 years now. And we implement an evidence-based integrated student supports model of service. And what we try to do, as it says up there on the screen, is ensure that we are in schools to help remove non-academic barriers for students so that students can be successful in their academic futures. At Communities and Schools, we have a set of 5 basics that we believe in very strongly, and that informs all of the work that we do with students and families. You see those 5 basics up on the screen there: developing a one-on-one relationship with a caring adult, making sure that students have a safe place to learn and grow, making sure that students have a healthy start and a healthy future, a marketable skill to use upon graduation, and finally, a chance to give back to peers and community. So that said, especially that first basic up there, the one-on-one relationship with a caring adult, is really at the heart and the foundation of the work that we do. And you'll hear that theme kind of come up throughout tonight's presentation. And again, just the final reminder just to reiterate, big picture, what our model is first we come into the buildings and we work very closely with the student supports that are already in the building, as well as the support teams, to really determine what that need is, right? We work together with administration, with all of the faculty to really figure out what that need is. Then from there, we put a plan in place to help bring in supports and implement supports ourselves. In the model of whole school, where we're coordinating supports to impact all students, targeted small group work, and then finally our case management. So moving forward, I'd like to give everybody a overview of the work that was done this past school year in both of these buildings, starting first off with Emmaus High School. So the first focus area where a large bucket of our work happened was in attendance. So there were a variety of different things that were done in relation to attendance, as you can see there, mostly around challenges for students, recognizing positive attendance, and having positive messaging celebrating the attendance of students in buildings. What I also want to highlight here is the family engagement piece, right? So national data suggests that parent engagement as well as a positive school climate are 2 leading indicators of positive school-wide attendance. So when we talk about family engagement, oftentimes that work gets lumped into attendance supports as well. So you'll see that represented here. So at the bottom, you can see that we did make progress in our goal in this area, progressing to 92.28 average daily attendance at Emmaus High School. Moving forward, the second focus area at the high school is around school climate. And you can see there, just from the amount of bullet points, that really from a whole school perspective, this is where a lot of our work was. And I want to highlight just a couple of things up there. First and foremost, the Avidum Club, right? So the Avidum Club has been at Emmaus High School for several years now. And our site coordinator, Amy Williams, serves as the advisor for the Avidum Club, doing a large variety of different supports, targeting the middle schools, targeting the high school itself, and also outside of the school district. I know the Avidum Club's had an opportunity to engage with other high schools in the Lehigh Valley this year as well. Avidum quite literally means I have got your back, and it really focuses in on awareness and removing the stigma around things like anxiety, depression, and suicide. You'll note there as well the mental health symposium, so I'll touch on that a little bit later as well, but that was something very much that communities and schools had a hand in making happen within the East Bend School District for the second year. And then finally, a Ready, Set, Graduate celebration. So I know it was noted at last year's board presentation that we had a scholarship from Emmaus High School. A student, I should say, received a scholarship from us at the graduation ceremony last year. We actually had that again this year, where an Emmaus High School graduate received a scholarship from us as part of our Ready, Set, Graduate celebration for continuing education expenses. So happy to let that go for 2 years running now. And you'll see at the bottom as well there, so progress made in this goal area as well, progressing to 62% of students. And finally, the third focus area for Emmaus High School is around that social emotional learning. And so what you can see here is a lot of the focus in this area was around that small group initiatives, right? So really connecting with building staff, connecting with the students themselves, and identifying what are those content areas that the group work benefits students from, and then either implementing those services ourselves or brokering with partners around us to come into the high school and to deliver those small group supports around those key areas that are on your screen in front of you. The goal at the bottom, which we've made progress towards, really kind of gets at making sure that the groups and the supports that are brought in are at maximum capacity. So that was one thing this year, to say how many groups, how many possible seats do we have in these group supports? And then how many students are actually attending these group supports? So increasing the efficacy of the student participation in those groups, something positive this year. And then finally for Emmaus High School is our case management student overview. So each of our site coordinators has a target goal of 60 students to case manage. That 60 is a number that we use across our affiliate, that's informed through national best practices. It also tries to get towards saturation. So one of our things that we like to do whenever possible is to case manage at least 10% of the student body. So that doesn't, of course, happen at IRE or at Emmaus. But that 60 number there is there for a reason, for a couple of different reasons. But as you can see on the screen there, our site coordinator, Amy Williams, exceeded her case management goal. She had case managing 65 students this year at Emmaus High School with some tremendous outcomes. So our top two areas in terms of the number of students with goals showed tremendous growth with academics and social emotional learning. And then the third most, I'll say, highest in terms of the students, how many students in the goal area is attendance. You'll see there that with 68% meeting or showing growth in their goal. But I would say that looking at last year's information, that actually represents a 21% growth from the students that showed progress from last year to the percentage of students that showed progress this year. So we're very excited with those case management outcomes. And I did make a reference to our case management outcomes from last year. So I'll just note, I know in the board materials that you would have gotten for this evening, there was a breakdown that showed a little bit year over year our case management outcomes, as well as some student successes in there as well. So moving on to IRE Middle School. So again, kind of breaking down our work in terms of the focus areas, as well as how the work is implemented, whole school, small group, and individual school. So first focus area being around school climate. So here at Emmaus High School, our site coordinator, Kristen Hackman, is the advisor for two really impactful groups, so Kid to Kid and Girls on the Run, giving students an opportunity to shine, to give back, and to be positive members of the building. I did want to kind of point out here as well for this content area, the Angel Network. So that's something that communities and schools have been a part of, particularly at our middle school since we've been there, and since the Angel Network has been in existence, which is helping to provide basic need type supports in a dignified manner to students and families that are in need of those. So happy to report that is a growing initiative that CIS is a big part of at our middle school. So at the bottom, you can see there that there's progress maintained with 78%. So 78% there matches the baseline from the beginning of the year. But this is a metric that has grown the past couple of years. So when we say progress is maintained, kind of viewing that holistically over the course of the past couple of years. The second focus area at our middle school was around behaviors. So here again, you can see a lot of work done. Targeting different groups. So you can see here behavior presentations for parents. You can see here behavior presentations pushed into classrooms for students. You can see small group work around behavior. And also wanted to highlight that our site coordinator facilitated professional development for faculty and staff at our middle school surrounding behavior improvement. So excited that we were able to implement lots of different supports targeting different focus areas. And you'll notice at the bottom, so the number of state reportable incidents from last year actually increased to this year, up from 38 to 59. But one thing that we kind of found going through the data this year is that the 59 number doesn't necessarily show the impact of the supports being given, right? So oftentimes the behavior, the incident itself might be from a student who's just coming into the building, or the behavior itself oftentimes initiates the support, right? So what we want to do for next year to really highlight, to say like, are the supports in place working? What we're actually looking to do is once a student receives the support, is that support working? So looking at reframing this goal a little bit more heading into next year, not just to say how many incidents were there, but once an incident takes place and a support is in place, is it working? So I think a little bit of a more efficient way of looking at that number is on par for us for next year. And then finally, the third bucket area at our middle school, social emotional learning. So here again, we have our mental health resources in connection with the high school around the mental health symposium. I was honored to be able to be a part of that this year, meaning I was there in attendance just to see all of the partners there, to see the families, to see the national speaker that came in to speak with families. So a great success that all of CIS had a part in. And then here, one of the things I wanted to highlight in our small group work is a new group, a wellness group. So students had an opportunity to meet with our site coordinator and to meet with each other around positive body imaging. And then after the groups actually had an opportunity to engage with the fitness equipment at our middle school. So kind of an internal, external, whole body wellness initiative. So that was something new this year that I know our middle school was particularly excited about. That I wanted to highlight here today. And at the bottom, of course, you can see that progress was made in this goal area, up to 90%, up to 79% responding favorably on the panorama survey. And as well, we're looking at the Iron Middle School case management student overview. So again, very proud of the outcomes on display here. So looking at our top two goal areas in terms of numbers of students, academics and social emotional, showing some pretty good growth in those two areas. Also would like to highlight the 64 in terms of the number of case managed students. Again, across our entire affiliate, 60 is the goal, is the benchmark that we put in place for all of our site professionals. And both Emmaus and IRE are exceeding that number. So very proud of that as well. So the last couple of slides, I just wanted to highlight just a few other additional pieces of information. So on your screen, you'll see there partners and providers that are coordinated by CIS. So I made reference to that throughout the presentation. So we are in school buildings working with staff to implement supports ourselves. But a big part of our model is also connecting with resources, right? If we can't do it, or if we're not the right ones for the job, we're sure going to find the right ones for the job and bring them in and be that connector, that facilitator for the building. So it's one of the biggest strengths, I think, of communities and schools, is really expanding and increasing the capacity of the schools that we're in. And I think one way to highlight that is through just looking at the number of partners and providers that we bring in to the school district. So obviously with the help of the amazing faculty and staff at Emmaus High School and Iron Middle School, but communities and schools really leaning in to help to make that happen in each of those buildings. I did want to take a moment to share just two testimonials with the board this evening. The first being from Principal Gariello at Emmaus High School. So I'm not going to necessarily read every word of the testimonial, but I will leave that there for everyone to take a look at. Principal Gariello really takes a moment there just to kind of talk about the leadership of of Amy Williams in her building. Also talks about communities and schools really kind of being a part of the fabric of the EHS community. So there's also reference there to Avidum and being the real kind of driving force behind that club and that initiative in Emmaus High School. So I wanted to make a note of sharing the positive words of Principal Gariello here as well. And then with that, I wanted to also share the positive words of Principal Ruff from Principal Ruff from Iron Middle School as well. So very kind words there to say of Kristen Hackman, our site coordinator, really just kind of emphasizing her leadership and her ability to go above and beyond to advocate for students and for the success of families at Iron Middle School. Again, here you'll see highlighted just a little bit about leadership, as well as increasing the supports and being just a part of the fabric at Iron Middle School. So beautiful words there, like I said, that I'm not going to necessarily read word for word here this evening, but I wanted to at least leave them on the screen there and just share with the board this evening. And final slide. Like I said at the very beginning, to kind of conclude, we have some great data that we were able to speak about tonight. We have some great supports and initiatives that we were able to accomplish. But everything, right? Everything that we believe in, everything that we do starts and ends with relationships, right? So building relationships with school faculty, building relationships with families, and most importantly, building relationships with students, right? In order to kind of get those outcomes, or to remove those barriers that we aim to remove, you have to build that relationship first, right? You have to be a consistent, caring voice. So that's something that we accomplished, I believe, at both buildings, and very proud of. And that concludes the presentation. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you.
Well, thank you very much for that presentation. Before I turn things over to the board to offer comments and questions, I do want to say that I do appreciate you coming in and offering this annual review. It's always nice to see the impact and, since joining the board and kind of come along with CIS as it's grown within the district, I appreciate CIS's presence and, do see the value.
No, thank you.
Okay, I'd like to turn it over to questions from the board. Any comments? Ms. Mullen.
Yeah, I thank you for the presentation and also want to thank the caseworkers for their good work as well. I appreciated on slide 10 when you talked about remember exactly what the data was, that it didn't look like progress had been made, and that for next year.
For the behavioral support?
Yeah, that you were looking at measuring it in a different way. And I think I'm really appreciative of that. All my years on the board that we've been getting these presentations, I think that's been somewhat of a problem with the measurements that are being used to track the success of the program. I think the same issue for at the high school with measuring attendance for the whole school, even though, and then I know you have some school-wide touches, but it seems like that's a very sluggish number. And it kind of makes it appear as if communities and schools isn't doing much to move the needle. And so I'm wondering if maybe by next year, you might put some thought into whether there's a way to make that data more meaningful. Because us as a board, we have to make financial decisions based on the numbers that we're getting from, I mean, I don't have any suggestions about how to make it more meaningful. I just wanted to put it out there. And then I just had a curiosity. It's on slide 7. You have girls' self-esteem and boys' empowerment, are those basically the same group? But I was just curious about why one was called self-esteem and the other one was called empowerment.
Yeah, no, so I think, to your point, I think it's basically the same thing, just maybe it's a little tweaks in terms of what the focus is, but yeah, I would say that they're roughly the same type of support.
All right, thank you.
Sure. No, thank you.
Thank you for those questions. Additional comments, Ms. Ford?
Thank you for the presentation and the information. I was just wondering, I know this is pretty high level, but where would any one of us be able to access more information on demographics of the students served?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we have a data management system, kind of an in-house data management system that we utilize for our case managed students to house all of that information. So we do have that information. So we pull it, we pull it from the school district itself and then have that in our capacity. So at any time we could pull a report and submit that if that was of interest, but we do have that information at our disposal and would be able to share that, of course.
I appreciate that. I'm always just interested in knowing who's being serviced and who are we reaching and how they're reached. So thank you.
No, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Ms. Klotz.
So first, great question, and I'd be interested in that information as well. So, thank you so much for you and your team for doing the hard and rewarding work for our students. It's so important. And just out of curiosity, what were the top concerns expressed by the students in Emmaus High School and also in IRE over this last year? And have those concerns shifted from the previous year? Or do they kind of remain constant?
Yeah, so I think they do remain relatively constant, and that was actually one of the things that I was inquiring about in preparation of this board meeting. And I think it's a lot of those. I'll generally categorize them as perhaps school avoidance behaviors, right? So whether it is dealing with anxiety, whether it is dealing with things that are going on within the home, so that manifests themselves as issues with perhaps attendance or behaviors or academics, things like that. So it's a lot of it is around kind of that social interaction with others, as well as the mental health concerns, which you can see a lot of our focus area in a lot of the work that we do is in those areas as well. So from what I can tell, that is a trend, I'll say, from year over year, and not necessarily particularly something new to this year. But that is a consistent thing that we've seen from this past year as well that we try to hone in on.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
For the question, additional comments or questions? Dr. Whitney.
Yeah, so thank you for the presentation. This has been great work. I would echo, I guess, Ms. Bowman's comment about the data being presented to us, the statistics that seem on the face of it to be modest at best success, right? And I know that that's not indicative of certainly the efforts that are being put in. And so I would echo that and say maybe in future iterations of this, it would be good to put those goals into some further context and deeper context and maybe talk about, why there hasn't been as much progress made in a certain area. You elucidated a couple of them, but I think overall it would be good for us to see and if we're just going on numbers, right, that's the case isn't very compelling, but obviously the case, at least to me, is very compelling. So that's just one statement, that's a comment. And then my question, I think, is really more for the administration, perhaps, rather than yourself. But I know the reason why we don't have a site coordinator at LMMS from Communities and Schools. I'm wondering if there is, a couple of questions. Number one, is there any thought to trying to get a site coordinator at LMS in the future? Is that still a goal, or is that off the table? And I guess my other question would be, could we hear more about what's happening at LMS in order to be able to understand the ways in which there might be similar things or different things, different approaches, different levels of success? I think it would be useful to get a report from LMS to compare as well. So put those out.
I can speak to our staff at Lower Macungie. And at this point in time, there is nothing on the table to explore expanding communities and schools in the building. As Dr. Campbell mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, the services that our student supports coordinator is providing to students is comparable in many ways to what's happening in communities and schools. The student supports coordinators is facilitating groups at Lower Macungie. This past year, she, along with the team, provided over 12 different groups, and that was 17 different sessions of those groups to students. So it was serving the whole population at a tier 2 level. What's different at Lower Macungie compared to IR and Emmaus is that we don't do case managed students. So while communities and schools has to work within their national model using the metrics at that national level, we do not, obviously, because this is a district position. And so our resource at Lower Macungie delivers similar services through groups. She's also pushing out to do school-wide work. She's partnering with community agencies. The Lower Macungie is partnering with Karen, Mars, Valley Youth House, KNS. Most of the community partners that you saw on the screen before us today are also partnering with Lower Macungie Middle School. We also do cross collaboration frequently. So most recently, we finished our middle level summer learning program. Both Kristen Hackman and Kip Suda from Lower Macungie really facilitated that along with our student advisors. So they're coming together. Kip Suda, who is our student supports coordinator at Lower Macungie, was part of the mental health fair, the resource fair. So we do have cross contact happening at a district level.
Great. Yeah, that was my next question is there collaboration happening? Something. So,
Yes, and just to take it one step further, as students roll up from 8th grade to 9th grade, we're making sure that we're looking at both Lower Macungie and IR students to be able to provide that support with that transition.
wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you for the questions. Ms. Klotz?
Actually, I would just like to mention something. More informational than anything else. So you mentioned the Angel Network at IR, and I would like to mention that LMMS also does have the Angel Network, and it was when my daughter attended there. So unless something has changed in the last 2 years, the Angel Network was thriving and did very good work as well. So at LMS. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Again, just to reiterate, certainly positive feedback from the board, and again, we value the services that are provided, and look forward to making those additional impacts in the next year. And I do think it is a good suggestion to maybe look at how you're evaluating the impact and with some different metrics.
No, that's perfect. I think that's a great suggestion. Definitely something that we're gonna go back and ponder on. Absolutely. Thank you.
Right, very good. And thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
We also appreciate the entire CIS team coming out tonight. So thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda relates to the K-8 realignment facilities plan and project. There is a motion that's under this item. However, we're going to proceed as follows. We're first going to get an overview from the administration given by Dr. Campbell to understand the background and why this motion is here tonight. After that overview, I'm going to ask for a motion in a second, and then we can go into more discussion. So, Dr. Campbell.
Thank you. I do have a bit of an introduction to the motion that's perhaps a bit longer than the typical introduction, but I think it's really important for the board as well as the community to understand the context and how this particular motion came to be and what we see, what we as a team see as the benefits of this particular motion. So you know that throughout the 24-25 school year, and even prior to this school year, teams of educators and community members have been actively involved for planning the implementation of the K-8 realignment. That change was originally scheduled to take place in the 28-29 school year. Recently, and I'm going to say in the latter part of this school year, there have been questions, concerns raised by some members of the board as well as community members regarding various aspects of that realignment, as well as the timing of any major facilities project at this point in time. Some of the overarching concerns that we have heard would be the overall project costs, given the economic uncertainty, the impact of tariffs on those project costs moving forward. We've also heard concerns about any potential changes that may have occurred in our enrollment projections over the past 18 months, and how, if any of those changes do exist, they might impact the capacity constraints that we face at several buildings K-8. And then there were also concerns about the original scope of the proposed changes to Emmaus High School. And there was the thought of possibly refining the scope of the renovations to the high school and having updated costs for such a project. Again, that's an example of some of the overarching concerns that were raised. Administration proposes that the most prudent course of action is to pause the implementation of the K-8 realignment plan so that these and other questions that have been raised can be fully addressed. Specifically, we recommend reopening the feasibility study that was originally approved by the board, presented to the community about 18 months ago, so that again, we can exercise due diligence and reinvestigate those options that would address the K-12 facility needs in our organization. We see that this is not a retreat from the goals or validity of the realignment plan, but we really believe that a temporary pause on approving, which would be the next step, would be the board to take action on approving the schematic design and then proceeding with land development. So we believe that a pause on that work for now will allow us to respond to several overarching questions that have been raised. And certainly we need to, we feel an obligation and want to respond to the public after fully investigating these questions. So those questions include, again, the updated enrollment projections and how they impact our building capacities. Reconsidering the option of redistricting at the elementary and middle schools and how redistricting and accompanying renovations would address capacity and equity needs. What would be the updated project costs for that redistricting and renovation piece, including staffing that would be associated with elementary and middle level facility renovations as part of that redistricting plan. And then the third key question would be, what are the essential facility renovation needs at Emmaus High School? And what are the updated costs associated with such a renovation? So again, looking at three key aspects: enrollment, redistricting or the other option to address equity and facility needs K-8, and then really honing in on what are the essential facility needs at Emmaus High School and coming up with some costs for that particular project. In addition to fully developing responses to those key essential questions, the district will also have the opportunity to monitor and reassess construction and borrowing costs amidst what we recognize as just many shifting economic indicators. We believe this updated recommendation reflects a balanced approach. We remain committed to the strategic vision that we laid out several years ago, while acknowledging a very real need to address key questions and carefully monitor a changing economic environment. We also don't take this pause lightly, and we recognize there are implications for delaying the work from moving forward at this point in time. Some of those implications may include potential cost increases as we reconsider facility costs in the future and capacity issues in some of our buildings. However, we believe that this is the responsible course of action for our community at this point in time so that all concerns can be fully addressed. Our team did recently meet with Breslin Architects. That's the team that has publicly presented at board meetings and have developed a tentative timeline for our work. And so what we would propose moving forward is that For the fall of 2025, we would continue working with Breslin and really drill down into the high school facility essential renovation needs, so that we can begin that investigatory work and come up in the future with some, with a very accurate projected cost of facility needs. We also, in the fall of 2025, are planning for an updated demographic and enrollment public presentation to the board and the community. And in addition, in the fall of 2025, we would represent the redistricting option and how it addresses the equity and capacity needs at the K-8 level. And again, come back with some updated cost estimates of that particular option. We then envision in the winter, we would do a public presentation in terms of high school project renovation options and cost. And ultimately, next spring of 2026, we would potentially be ready to have the board take action on whether it's the schematic design for the K-8 realignment or the redistricting option or the high school renovation. But the board would then have had a series of public presentations, opportunity for discussion, opportunity to hear from the community, and again, potentially be ready in April of 2026, spring of 2026, as a time at which we could then take action. Again, we recognize that depending on the course of action taken in April, at this point in time, obviously, the realignment, if that would be the course of action at that point in time, the 28-29 timeline, we are off of that by about a year. And then certainly if another option is considered or pursued, we would be even further out. But again, I don't want to get too far into timelines in terms of when a change could take place. We're really just trying, we really believe the best course of action right now for our community at this point in time is to pause and allow us to really delve into those questions that are being asked and present them to the board and the community so that when we make a decision in terms of the next step to address the needs for our community, that the board feels as if that they're very confident in that decision. Thank you for allowing me such a lengthy introduction.
Appreciate the introduction and kind of laying out the rationale why we're going to be considering the motion that is on the table here. So can I get a may I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, thank you. We can now open discussion to the board. Mr. Jankowski.
I have a comment and then a question. So first, I do appreciate the administration listening to the concerns that have been expressed over the past several weeks, and presenting this alternative path to relook at the options. I would be remiss, however, if I didn't comment on the process by which the realignment was chosen. Any public discourse out there alleging that the process through which this was chosen was not transparent is patently false. And, you know, I was a part of the committee through which the process ran, and it's disappointing that any notion of a lack of transparency is in any way being perpetuated. It was a very open and public and informed process via surveys, via working groups. The public was a part of it. The board was a part of it. The administration was a part of it. Based on the outcome of over a year of meetings and discussions and interaction with the community, the realignment was ultimately approved. That being said, I 100% agree with where we are today, but it disappoints me when I hear false information being disseminated out there. And I just want to offer up my thanks to the administration for how the process was run, and I am absolutely confident that any future discussions and presentations will equally be transparent. Next, with respect to suspending this process, the CHA consulting contract, are there any potential repercussions or contractual liabilities or penalties that we are going to or could possibly face as a result of suspending that contract?
So the answer to your question is there are absolutely no penalties whatsoever for canceling their contract. They are entitled to be paid for any work done prior to then. And that would be what you would normally do anyhow. There can be a charge if they, have to remobilize and start over again. That would be something standard. I'm not so sure there really would be any charge. I think that answers your question.
It does. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Jankowski. Additional comments, Ms. Clancy?
So I'm echoing Mr. Jankowski. Just thank you, Dr. Campbell and the administration for listening to the serious questions and concerns of the overall community and taking the time to reevaluate different options. Very much appreciate that. And I'd also like to say thank you to the countless community members who have reached out to all of us, I'm sure, and have been passionately engaged in this topic. But also just recommend that the community continues to be engaged, as we all belong to this community and we all have the opportunity to be heard. So make it count and use your voice. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Klotz. Ms. Ford?
Thank you. Again, like everyone has mentioned, thank you to the administration for your diligence and really helping all of us to get the information, hear the information, discuss the information. I know we've all really been, mulling all over all of the information for quite some time and receiving feedback, reading what's in the newspapers. But also, like Mr. Jankowski mentioned about the transparency, information is always available and it's public and we've been talking about it. And so, I can only second that we're consistently trying to be transparent about what's happening in the community. I'm a big advocate for communication and staying involved. That's one of the reasons I ran, is to make sure that, I know what's going on. And so I remember this issue before I was on the board. And so I just think that we have to help each other. We're here, you're here as the community, but we have to work in tandem and we're not against one another. We all reside here and benefit from the things that are done here and the changes that come. And I know at the heart of every parent, every administrator, every board member is we want to do what's best for the students. And that will always and remain my motivation and our motivation to get things done. And I know, the pause, it's a little disheartening to me, if I'm honest, because I'm really wanting to see movement in this area to make the changes that we know we have to make, whether it's the grade schools or it's the high school. We know we need changes. That's not going to change. And the things that we're up against, that's not going to change. And if left untapped, will only get worse. And so I'm hoping that this is also an opportunity for all of us to dig in as a community and get on one page and do what's best for all the students. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Additional comments? Mr. Smith,
Greetings, Dave, from the frozen north where it was 90 degrees today. Just a question that I had, and looking and listening to Dr. Campbell's introduction to our conversation tonight. Um, I guess the question that I have in listening to that was that we are going to be revisiting the feasibility study. We're going to be having board presentations. We're going to be having communications with and conversations with the community. I guess my question is, and this could be the administration or whoever wants to provide input. My question is, how is that going to be measurably different from the conversations and the presentations and the feasibility study and all the things that were done over the last 2.5 years to get us to this point? I know we don't have another 2.5 years to do it all again. I realize that's going to be a quicker timeline, but it sounds like we're doing a lot of the same things over again a second time.
In essence, we will be further investigating some of the same work that was done about 1.5 years ago. Again, in preliminary conversations with Breslin, I think where we will have perhaps some of the duplicity of work would be looking at the redistricting option. But what we would do is drill down a bit more deeply this time and come forth with a potential plan of which developments we would propose redistricting at the elementary level, which developments we would propose redistricting at the middle level. We would be sure that the architect takes a very careful look at the update to core facilities that are essential at both Eyre and Lower Macungie Middle School as part of that redistricting plan. And we're going to, again, carefully reanalyze the staffing needs that are associated with that redistricting plan as possible so that we can bring the community and the board updated information in terms of this is the impact of redistricting in terms of numbers and developments that would change buildings moving forward. And then also the cost of the facility renovations and the staffing costs so that the board and the community has an opportunity, I'm going to say, to kind of compare apples to oranges in terms of we know the updated costs associated with the realignment. We have reviewed the vision for that program and attempted to describe how those program enhancements positively impact students. And we now wish to represent updated information on redistricting. And again, the impact that that has on students and the community in terms of costs of the project. I would say the piece that would perhaps be different is there have been some questions about perhaps the scope of renovations to Emmaus High School that were originally presented about in 2023. Specifically, there were questions that perhaps the scope of the renovations was, I'm paraphrasing, but more than what was actually needed. And so we're going to work with a team to actually really identify what is absolutely essential. What are the absolute essential changes to the facilities that are needed at Emmaus High School, and then bring forth some cost estimates for those essential renovations. I can't sit here today and promise that it will be less than 200 million. But we're first going to prioritize what are those essential renovations or facility needs and changes to Emmaus High School, and then what are the updated costs associated with that. So, Mr. Smith, that piece, I think we're going to unpack a little bit more deeply than perhaps was done before.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Additional comments? Roman.
Yes, I appreciate this motion. Primarily because come December, you're going to have at least 2 new board members. And it troubled me that this board would be voting on something that a future board would have to wrestle with the financial ramifications of. So it sounds like there won't be a vote on this until the new board is seated, which I think is helpful because that's the board that's going to have to figure out the budgets. And that's the board that's going to actually have to vote for the budgets and talk to the public about those budgets. So that makes a lot more sense to me. I don't see this as a punt for after the election. I actually think it's a gift to the new people that will be coming onto the board, which will be at least 2 people. I do wonder if you might add a few other questions that could be answered in the presentations. One, the gentleman in the audience had talked about how other districts have raised money for building projects, and I am wondering what would it look like if you did the tax increases first and the construction later, which to me seems a little bit more of a better foundation for the project than risking having a recession halfway through the building project and not being able to raise the taxes to cover it. The other one thing that's always been hazy in my mind is the house model, not really understanding what it is. And then when I ask about it, I kind of am told that maybe nobody really understands what it is. And I think that needs to be filled in more so that people know what they're voting on. And then you talked about the scope of the high school. One question I would have is what would the middle school project look like if you went back to the original cost? Or something close to the original cost? Like what would a 70 million scope look like for the middle schools, or whatever you want to call it, the realignment project look like? Last suggestion is, and I know some of this is just the timing of it, but you're going to be doing the presentations for this with this current board, but then the future board votes on the actual plan. And I'm wondering if you want to delay all the presentations until your future board is seated. I get that most of them come to the meetings and they listen, but they don't have the opportunity to ask questions. And I believe that they deserve that. And it might actually be more successful to the project to have at least whatever the future board looks like, to have them all present to be able to participate in these discussions. So that's it. Thank you.
If I could just reflect on some of the points that you made, and I will say that I appreciate you reiterating that perhaps the timing of proposed action by the board regarding facilities complements the fact that there will be some new board members who will be joining us as part of our team. And I agree with you that that's almost an unintended benefit, perhaps, of the plan that we laid out. But couldn't agree more that the timing, the recommendation to pause and further investigate and respond appropriately to questions, as well as the proposed timeline for presentations over the course of the 25-26 school year, actually is not related to the fact that we have a changing board, because as we recognize, you know, our board membership changes periodically as going through the election cycle. So there was really no strategy behind that it's election, as much as this was really our team working closely with the architect, mapping out what next year might look like. And we did actually discuss the idea of perhaps delaying all presentations until the second half of the year. In working closely with our architect team, we saw great benefit in strategically over time presenting pieces of information so that the board and the community has plenty of time to digest, so that we can put communication and information out there, that people have time to ask questions, and it can be an iterative process. A concern would be that by delaying all presentations until the second semester, that we then risk the community or board at that time feeling as if there's a whole lot of information that's being presented in a short window of time. Because don't forget, the spring is also busy for us with our budget cycle. And there's a lot of information coming at the board and the community. So that was the reason for, again, strategically mapping out information and phasing it in over the course of several months, so that when we do get to a point of making a decision, there's been ample time for the board to digest, ask thoughtful questions, as well as for the community to give us feedback. Because that's really important to us. And I will also say, we've also recognized that, again, there will be some new board members joining us. I too am always appreciative when we see candidates who are joining us for meetings. And we have planned in some special sessions, individual sessions with any new board members so that we could almost do a reorientation to information that has already been presented.
Okay, that's great. And I also wanted to thank you for bringing up the staffing needs. That is also another hazy part of this project that I don't believe has ever, if it ever came up during a meeting, maybe I forgot it or I missed that meeting, but I don't think the actual staff that is a part of this project was ever presented. It's just sort of talked about how there's a staffing portion of it. So I do think that that really does need to be outlined. So thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Yes, no, Mr. Kelly.
Dr. Campbell, as you guys put together the comparisons and the price tag for the redistricting, can you make it in a way where like the House administrative offices would be something that wouldn't be needed, correct, for if you redistrict, or so that I guess in a way we're kind of comparing on the same level. If you go conservatively with the redistricting and there were, things that may not have been even feasible for that, like the second gym, things like that. Could you show those kind of itemized in a way that we could see, just have a more clear comparison of where we are at those stages? Does that make sense?
It does, yeah, absolutely, because again, the redistricting plan, what I hear you saying is that when we present the redistricting plan, perhaps point out the way in which it is different from the realignment. Because when you pointed out, for example, creating admin suites within buildings, which was a key part of, which was an aspect of the realignment plan to create these smaller communities within a larger building. That feature was not necessarily an architectural feature that was part of redistricting. Those were really just some renovations to other core facilities. So we can absolutely work with the architect to point out exactly what the changes are that are being proposed, so that ultimately, I think what you and the community would be looking to do would be to create models of this plan offers this advantage over that plan. And again, there might be differences in what people perceive as advantages or disadvantages, but we can certainly give you the educational perspective as well.
Thanks.
Thank you for the question. Additional comments? Okay, and then I'll close, but I have prepared some remarks. So as you know, I've spoken at length several times now, and you can refer to my prior comments for additional details and then I articulated those occasions. So tonight I'm just going to try and keep my remarks a little more limited. First, I want to express my sincere appreciation for all of the innovative work performed by the administration, the members of the various committees, all district stakeholders, our contractors, our students and community members for their hard work to systematically collect substantive information over the last 3 to 4 years to assemble what I feel to be a remarkable plan, which is the K-8 realignment. I also appreciate the administration's thoughtful, transparent, and apolitical review of the present situation and their subsequent recommendation to engage in a reevaluation over the next year to reach a decision that is both informed and more universally supported among all stakeholders. Given current sentiments and the fact that the window of opportunity to keep the K-8 realignment plan on pace for the 28-29 school year has elapsed, we now must focus on using this additional time as an opportunity to reevaluate the alternatives and the potential companion plans that will meet our known K-12 facility needs. Now, as a proponent of realignment, I am of course disappointed to be taking this pause, but know that while I truly appreciate community members' concerns and the related complex financial uncertainties that surround the realignment plan, I do have sincere worry that this pause may not be doing what's best to serve the needs of East Penn in as timely or as cost-effective fashion. This pause takes a less proactive approach to address the well-defined and impending space and programmatic needs of the district as defined within the K-8 realignment plan. It does, however, place us at risk of running into quantifiable building enrollment and programmatic issues. And the delay also likely means an escalation of costs to address a similar scope of work. The facts that served as the basis of the realignment actions are going to remain, and I suspect that the conclusions of this pause for reevaluation are likely to still end up favoring the option that we're suspending at this point, because I really do believe in that vision. I also feel that there was a path to accomplish the complementary planning for the essential needs of the high school in parallel with K-8 realignment, and thus not cause us to lose the proactive advantage of continued effort on realignment. Nevertheless, it is my pragmatic choice to vote in favor of this motion, as it provides a viable path forward given the present circumstances, so as to address the district needs and to confirm the direction of the district that the district needs to take. To my constituents, please trust that I will work toward and support making the best choices for our students and community. If there's no further comments, I'd like to proceed to a vote. Ms. Allen, will please call the roll.
Mr. Pelleggi,
Aye.
Ms. Ford,
Aye.
Mr. Jankowski,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Ms. Klotz,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Dr. Whitney,
Aye.
Ms. Bowman,
Aye.
Dr. Levinson,
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you, Ms. Allen, and thank you for the substantive discussion. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is personnel items. Couple notes, there were two changes that need to be made due to clerical errors. For Catherine Blewett, this position is being opened due to the resignation of Jay O'Connor, and for Jenna Edwards, this position is being an opportunity is being created by the transfer of D. Huff. So with those corrections, I may have a motion to approve the personnel items.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, Ms. Allen, please call the roll.
Ms. Ford,
Aye.
Mr. Jankowski,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Ms. Klotz,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Dr. Whitney,
Aye.
Ms. Bowman,
Aye.
Mr. Pelleggi,
Aye.
Dr. Levinson,
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Moving on to business operations, if there are no objections, I'd like to get a motion to take items A through E together.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, Ms. Allen, please call the roll.
Mr. Jankowski,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Ms. Klotz,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Dr. Whitney,
Aye.
Ms. Bowman,
Aye.
Mr. Pelleggi,
Aye.
Ms. Ford,
Aye.
Dr. Levinson,
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Before moving on, I would like to note the generous donation of the East Penn School District Education Foundation in the amount of $16,783 in support of the Library 2.0 program at Willow Lane Elementary School. We truly appreciate their ongoing support. Next item on the agenda under curriculum is the approval of educational conferences. I have a motion.
So moved. Second.
Any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, Ms. Allen, please call the roll.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Ms. Klotz,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Dr. Whitney,
Aye.
Ms. Bowman,
Aye.
Mr. Pelleggi,
Aye.
Ms. Ford,
Aye.
Mr. Jankowski,
Aye.
Dr. Levinson,
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Moving on to announcements, there was an executive session held this evening to discuss a topic related to personnel. Our next regular board meeting will be on Monday, August 25th at 7:30 in this room. With no further business, may I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Have a good evening.